Blender Shinju Fukuyo. 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 Shinju Fukuyo.
Fukuyo too.
Hey guys, I'm Charles and
John.
And we are here with Bigfoot Bourbon Company reviews, and today we're going to actually step outside of the bourbon world a little bit and explore a relatively newcomer on the market, at least here in the United States, Japanese whiskey. Now, this is a pretty intimidating market because there's really not, at least from what I could find, a ton of information. And you know, when you walk into a liquor store and you see all the different kinds of bourbon, it's just, there's everything, anything and everything. But you go into the Japanese section, and depending on your liquor store, where you live.
But does it seem to you that the section's starting to get bigger?
Oh, absolutely. The import market is becoming quite a, I mean, you could see it with Irish whiskey as well. There's a lot more options there as well.
True.
I mean, Scotch has always been a thing, right? There's always been a lot of Scotch, but now we're starting to
People want to be James Bond.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. They're trying to bring in some different options. And you know, this is a kind of like a bridge between, and we were talking about this before we started recording today, how we both enjoy Irish whiskey. Irish is fantastic. Cool. And that's kind of more bourbon-y than Scotchy. Like, I'm not a Scotch fan.
No.
There's a lot in it, and I haven't developed that palate yet. Maybe as I just continue to explore whiskeys, that'll be the path I take. I don't know. I hope not. It's very expensive, but
I have had a good Scotch. Yeah. But honestly, it was like a few glasses of Irish in, and then we had some Lafrague, and that was really good.
I'm sure. I mean, the value. I mean, I guess it's worth it. I don't know. Like, I've not had anything between an Irish and a Scotch to where it's going to have some of those Scotch notes, a little bit of the smokiness, that's the peat from Scotch, more malty. So we'll see. Today we're going to do Toki by Suntory. Suntory is one of the largest and most well-established distilleries and companies over in Japan. They do a lot of stuff. They've got distilleries all over the country, and so what this is in particular, Toki represents time in Japanese. And this was a project that the master blender, the chief blender for Suntory, who is Shinju Fukuyo. Now, I'm going to warn you, I apologize if I pronounce anything incorrectly. That is just not something I'm very great at, so I apologize ahead of time. But he wanted to highlight modern Tokyo culture, the changes, the shifts that have happened over the years, but also honor the tradition. And that's what he aimed at, trying to blend 3 different distilleries' whiskeys. So he started with Cheetah grain whiskey. So they're all from different distilleries that Suntory owns, and he blended them all together. Cheetah grain whiskey. He has Hakushu malt whiskey, and then finally he has some Yamazaki malt. Now that is going to be, from my experience, Yamazaki is one of the higher end products from Japan. Every time I see, we've got Yamazaki 12, you've got the 21, and those command a pretty significant price.
The Japanese, they're big into blended whiskeys, correct?
Like, they are. I mean,
almost everything we get.
I've got one bottle, a Nika straight from the barrel, and that is, I believe, straight from the barrel of one particular type of whiskey.
You'd like to think so.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll review that one down the road. But this is going to come in at 86 proof, and as you can tell, it's a little interesting as a bourbon drinker to see something this light. This is, I don't know if you can see it, but it is very light. It's almost like honey, like you said. This is generally going to run you between $30 and $40 if you can find it. It's becoming a lot more common, so that's a good thing. It was finished in ex-bourbon casks, some of the whiskey, and ex-sherry casks. So we have some aging that's involved. There's no age statement associated with this, though. Okay. So we don't. I think it's probably the 3, right? The different distilleries.
I haven't had this at all, by the way. I don't think I've ever had this. I think you had it.
I've had it before a little bit. Yeah, not much. It looks,
it looks like white wine.
Yeah, it really does. That's crazy. We're drinking a Chardonnay today, guys.
Suntory Chard.
Suntory Chard. All right, so it's very light. No.
Oh, interesting.
That doesn't smell like what I expect. I see this, I expect white wine. Really, genuinely white wine.
You expect a grapey smell, and it's not
this
there.
is most definitely not that. I get okay.
Green apple,
yeah,
peel.
A little bit of green apple. I mean, it's
very light.
It's not sweet. It's not super sweet. And that's what's interesting because when knows a bourbon,
you
expect something with a little
notes,
right. That's not here.
Notes. None of those here.
I mean, I could see a citrusy, a citrus fruit is what I'm really pulling from this. Like apples, orchard fruits. Okay, so let's try it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Light.
It's very light.
I'm going to say it's definitely got more of a. I mean, I'm not an experienced Scotch drinker, but for a bourbon drinker, this has a little bit of peat in it. I get a little bit of smoke, but it's still, I get the citrus, I get the green apples.
Yeah, it kind of leads with that, and then it kind of kicks you, but yeah.
There's but I'm going to say there's a little bit of oak in here, which is, you would not expect it with that color, right? The color a lot of time is derived from the aging, and we're not really getting much of that in this. Your eyes deceive you, and what you taste here is crazy.
What you see is not what you're getting flavor-wise. Oh, there's some smoky, peaty.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad. It's just not bourbon, and that's my thing. Like, I enjoy it.
This is okay. So we were talking about being between bourbon and Scotch, right?
Right.
This tastes like it's between an Irish and a Scotch, and it's leaning towards Scotch.
Right.
Like, this is a different crowd.
Right. This is different. This is not something that you would. Hey, I like Bullet. No. Let me go get something a little bit more international.
Toki.
I would not do that. Now, I have had Hibiki. That's from Suntory. You bought a bottle of that, and that is very different from this.
Yes.
It's not nearly as smoky. But, I don't think this is bad. And now I'm going to tell you one thing that I really, really do enjoy, because I like a spicy bourbon. That finish is still sitting there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's peppery.
It's long.
Oh, man. It's long. Fantastic.
If you like a long finish.
And you wouldn't think so at 86 proof, so light.
Look at that.
Right.
Can you see
It's crazy. But the finish is substantial. But it's
against your...
it's very peppery. And I like that. I like cinnamon and pepper in my bourbons.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about value here.
I mean...
Well, hold on. First off, let's talk about rating this. Let's see where we feel on this.
So we can't rate this like a bourbon. We can't. It's not fair. It's not fair.
But I don't think we have enough to compare it to rate it as a Japanese whiskey either.
Okay, so...
I mean, do you agree with that? Like,
yeah.
We don't have the context
to
really accurately judge that.
To accurately put it anywhere with a mix.
I mean, this is almost like trying a vodka. Like, it's that different.
It is very
bourbon.
different.
It's a whiskey, but it is not anywhere close to a bourbon.
I mean, I like it as a different flavor. If you want something different to taste, this is not bad. It's not. I would not say that this is a bad tasting whiskey.
No. Okay. So let's start with the nose first.
Okay. What do you got? I like the nose.
See, I don't. The nose is not my favorite.
It's really light.
It's okay, but I get too much smoke.
Now I do, because I'm I'm
inhaling it,
sniffing it on my tongue too, because it takes a while to go away.
I mean, I would say for the nose, my rating would be 2. I mean, if you're comparing it to a bourbon, sure.
It would be 2.
But
that's why I'm like, it's not fair. We're going to compare this to a bourbon, and the only way it's going to compare is value will be okay, because 30 to 40 bucks for a different flavor.
All right, well, look, how about this? Let's take it out. Let's make a world whiskey scale.
Okay.
And get rid of the bourbon.
Well, right now it's in the middle.
Completely independent.
Or we're setting the middle bar.
Yeah, so this may change down the road as we continue to explore the world.
We're going to have to go back to Suntory.
Right, we'll come back.
Toki.
Exactly. We'll come back after we've done a few more.
Right.
We got some in the hopper, so don't worry. Hope you look forward to those.
Yeah.
But this one, I would solid 4 to 5 for nose, because, I mean, there's not much there.
But
honestly, probably 3 to 4. Let me rephrase that because it's not my favorite.
I think there will be other blended whiskeys that we're gonna like better.
Right. So 3 to 4 for the nose.
3 to 4.
All right. Taste.
You know, the more I taste it, the more I'm like, okay,
I appreciate
can sit
it.
with that.
I would be okay with between a 4, like a 4.5 for this confidently.
4.5
Yeah,
foots. Yes.
I think that is a solid whiskey that's different from what you normally would taste.
Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, the finish, my favorite part.
Yeah.
I'm giving that a 6. Like,
Yeah,
dude, I love this finish.
This is a long finish.
Man,
this is a very long finish.
It is not unpleasant either. You know, sometimes you get a finish and it just like, that's awful. I need to cleanse my palate. This, I'm okay. It's like you just chewed some really good gum.
Yeah.
Like it's got that mint that just kind of sits on your tongue. It's nice, peppery, minty.
Some things that are too peaty or too scotchy taste like you're licking a bog body, and that's not delicious at all. This is pretty good. This
Chewing on some peat.
Yeah. This actually has a smoky finish that's really nice.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's still sitting there. Like my tongue just is having a fun time today.
All right, well now we really need some suggestions because
Yeah.
we're way out of our this is not our purview at all.
No idea.
What do you know about Japanese blended whiskeys? Anything that you would recommend for a bourbon drinker to kind of transition us easily into a Japanese whiskey?
And
need a comment.
I will say, John started with Irish whiskey. That's before we became friends. He was an Irish guy. We started doing bourbon together. Mm-hmm. He got me into Irish with some Green Spot and Yellow Spot, which are just phenomenal whiskeys. And I've become a fan because he found the right entry point for me. So if you have an entry point that's different from Toki, please share so we can explore it and hopefully come to appreciate it even more than I enjoy it more than we already do. All right, so let's talk about value for the price. $30 to $40 for a bottle of
this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No,
absolutely.
I think for $30 to $40, that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I would put that at like a 7.
7.
Yeah, you down with that?
Definitely.
I think that is
right where I was thinking.
Right where you're gonna be able to have something different on your shelf. And you know what? When you have people over and they're like, "Hey, what do you got?" You show them something like this that they've never seen. Man, you are gonna open their eyes, man. Just let's go.
Yep.
You know, let's do it. All right,
like it,
guys. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully, see you soon, and have a great day.
See ya.